our third match of the day, our match of the day. It's Fenomeno taking on Thijs in this one, and not match of the day, apparently. I apologize for that. I did not know that. Fino has run away with his side of the bracket, and I think Thijs has done the exact opposite with it, sitting at the bottom side. It's an unfortunate season here for Thijs. In these last 2 weeks, he's decided to bring more creative decks, I would say, to try to express some of the personality he's wanted to thus far. And this break has brought Pilfer Rogue to the table to try to battle that out.
Yeah, and you are quite accurate in that assessment because they do have actually completely inverse records so far, 10 and 3 and 3 and 10 respectively. But starting with the 3 and 10 player Thijs and that Pilfer Rogue to which you referred, 2 copies of Pilfer recently changed to mirror Hench Clan Burglar's card text where it just says add a card to your hand from another class. Which means he can now more consistently get that smooth curve into the underbelly fence on 2, even in matchups against Rogue. So I think when he brought this deck, he was kind of leaning towards seeing some Rogue mirror matches, and it's just fortunate for him this time around because Fino has brought exactly that.
Indeed, he has brought the pseudo Water Rogue with the 1 copy of Sea Giants. We can take a look at Fino's deck and see exactly where this has been. It started out with 2 Sea Giants, and then it's kind of bowled its way down to 1. And very much in the same vein as like the Lone Eviscerate or the Lone Sap or the Lone Novice Engineer, I want to have cards that are very powerful in situations, but with Rogue, you cannot afford to just get clunky hands. That's my take.
Yep, still pleading the fifth on that one. It's a very interesting how many different Rogue decks we are seeing, and different might be a too strong a modifier for it, but it's the similar package that's accentuated with kind of different game plans that can lead you to different points in different matchups. You know, some people going all-out aggression with extra saps and double eviscerate, like we've seen Swids going. We're seeing the Water Rogue still coming into effect with Fino, one of the first players to really see the power of this deck, still sticking with the Sea Giant. Some players just kind of going with the Burgle package, but now without the Sea Giants as well. Like it's very, very different. Just with a few small cards difference, what kind of threats your opponent has to worry about based on what you've included in your deck.
Indeed. And this was the question that that Kalento actually posed yesterday in the interview. Do you keep Pilfer?
If you have Pilfer in your opening hand, do you even keep it? It was a good question.
I think with Vendetta I would, for certain.
Yep.
But minions are important. We built the Pilfer deck. I'm keeping the Pilfer, all right? That's where I'm at.
Do it for the fans, Thijs. He's just digging for the curve. Doesn't find it as of yet.
I don't blame him. Minion's good.
Vendetta is a pretty fantastic card against Rogue.
He is going second, so I think the pressure that he will face is a bit more anticipated.
Fino sees a version of his future that is significantly worse than the reality. There is no totem golem to be seen just yet.
Wow, that card is such a world of difference now. The Pilfer.
Yeah.
It actually just feels okay to play it against Rogue now.
I think okay is about where we'll stretch to. Yeah.
Well, before it didn't feel very good at all.
No, felt terrible. Deeply, deeply terrible.
Yeah, I will take okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get to play an Underbelly Fence on 2 mana as a 3/4.
That feels great.
Yeah. That makes Pilfer feel okay to me, where I'm like, oh, I could just draw Underbelly Fence.
Yep. And that's what Thijs was digging for with his mulligan, even going as far as to throw away that Vendetta.
I still would have kept it.
The Vendetta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think it's a really strong card in the matchup. Kind of gives you 2 different ways to grab tempo, right? Like either you can hit the absolute nuts curve where you do get the underbelly and then you have Vendetta to support it, or you don't and you just find any other minion and then you just use that minion to grab tempo alongside your 0 mana Vendetta.
I guess that's a really important mark of that is you do need a minion.
Yeah.
If you're keeping 2 cards that are not minions.
But when you miss on the underbelly fence, your plan B is like 3 drops. So you have the 2 cards you mulligan plus an additional draw plus 2 additional turns passing to find a playable minion at that point. It's a lot of draws.
Did you remember that Blink Box is in the side deck for?
I did not.
For Thijs?
That is an excellent point that does change things significantly.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I was thinking about it and I was like, I think Saddle's. Wait a minute. I remember this yesterday.
That makes more sense. Yeah, okay. So in that case, he has to full mulligan for minions.
That piloted Reaper is actually not a good thing right now.
Pulls out the cable rat or a lackey.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that I don't like getting minions from my hand for free. But when the battle cry is exclusively the majority of the power of my cards, I definitely prefer to have the battle cry than the free minion.
Right. Wing Blast, pretty effective a lot of times in the matchup. There are a lot of small minions that clash into each other and die almost every single turn, which makes that very effective.
Bootleg Vendetta.
Shadow Flame also kind of a blowout in the right spot though, but much more of an emergency card.
And double pay.
So down the Rush Lackey. The Rash Lucky. That doesn't work at all. The Rush Lackey from hand for Thijs here being pulled out. Does decrease his ability to take care of this 4-3 with tempo just a little bit, but he still has plenty of options.
I wonder.
I'm not terribly interested in the Waggle pick right now because my minions in play are just, the battle cries aren't exceptional. I would
You mean
say,
you don't want to Mad Bomber all of these 1-1s you're going to play over the next couple of turns?
I do like Mad Bomber. I actually, you know...
Of course you do. It has the word bomb in it. Of course you like it.
Confessional time. I have an alternate account with which I test Mad Bomber decks at the start of every season that nobody knows who I am. If you play a guy in Legend that has Mad Bomber, it's me.
The single most that's admirable thing I've ever heard in my life.
The name is like super generic too. Like nobody would ever be able to identify it via the name because it's just not generic enough to be super generic, but just super generic enough to not stand out.
We have actually achieved peak admirable. Thijs did go Waggle pick though.
Yeah, I think it is his strongest play. I'm just not excited about it.
I think it was just the best way to take care of the 4-3 in the scenario. SI7 was just kind of awkward.
To me, one of the issues is that you knew the opponent had an Evil Miscreant in hand. And so if they Shadow Step an Evil Miscreant and keep it at 1, that to me really smells like Shark Evil Miscreant as their next turn. If you use the Waggle pick to answer the 4-3, instead of using minion pressure and developing with like the SI7 agent,
then your
opponent gets this turn and nothing happens.
No, you hit his Evil Miscreant, you bounce the Mad Bomber back to your hand, you replay the Mad Bomber, and now 3 shots on the shark.
Now I got to try this now.
That was the plan all along.
I got to load up the alternate account and give this a go.
I wonder.
You just really haven't lived until you've coined a Mad Bomber and killed a Flame Imp with it.
Oh, I have done that many a time, but only in Arena.
Oh. I've almost never done it in Arena.
Oh, really?
And done it almost exclusively in constructed matches.
I used to play a ton of Arena.
And so Thijs gets the similar effect using the SI7 agent. I mean, this is like the Rogue in a nutshell, right? All your cards have a lot of redundancy, and so you end up with similar looking turns.
Yeah, this is why I liked the Waggle pick last turn, because he could have found an SI turn to take care of the 4-3 on the previous turn, but it was just kind of awkward with mana utilization. Whereas, okay, that's a Doomsayer. Let me finish my thought, and then we'll assess what that means. But Waggle pick on 4 then gave him the smooth turn 5 of just being able to go 2-drop into the SI7 and cleanly answer up afterwards. Go ahead. I see you've been deep in the tank on this Doomsayer.
Yeah, this one is a major issue because Fino's plan was to take the board very decisively by killing all opposing minions.
Yeah.
This will, I think, he can create circumstances where this gives him initiative, but it comes with a pretty substantial cost.
And it's so awkward when you get the Doomsayer at the start of your turn. I mean, it's obviously more awkward when you misplay and played it last and then you get the Doomsayer. But even when you get it at the start of your turn, it's such an awkward balancing act because you can't just leave your board so weak that they can kill everything, including the Doomsayer, and then develop past you. You have to make a board so that your opponent has to kill you. Like, it's so dumb. It's really hard to calculate the position that you get yourself in by doing this.
Yeah, I was curious about the Ethereal Lackey here, but I think he's fine to just go ahead and hang on to it. You're going to Ethereal Lackey with the High Spirit next turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Doomsayer is really unfortunate. Typically, let's talk about the negative effects real quick for turn, because Thijs' turns here I think is pretty straightforward. You play this and get treasure.
Sure.
Are you the kind of person who plays around the negative ones, or do you look for the beneficial ones instead?
It depends on upsides and downsides.
So like, let's say this Doomsayer here, for instance.
I mean, what was the option? I think just playing it there is just very reasonable, right? Because he's not
Let's say hit a bunch of spells in hand. Like, are you a go for the mana worm type of person, or are you for the see if it's a doomsayer?
Well, in that
kind of
case,
person?
it's
Like,
the same either way because you would play it first to get the mana worm.
the point is, it's a hypothetical. Do you look for the upsides or the downsides?
Well, but my answer is that it depends on the context.
Oh,
you have to assess based on the situation. The examples you're giving me, the answer to all of them is you play it first because it's better in every scenario.
You're right. Buy the Neapolitan ice cream so that way you can decide which flavor you want later.
Fairly sure none of those words came out of my mouth, but okay.
Analogies, hypotheticals, you know, concepts.
Yeah.
I wanted something to talk about because these next 2 turns played themselves.
Buy the Neapolitan ice cream because the vanilla part gets +2 spell damage every time you cast a spell or something.
Well, it's not directly analogous to the Hearthstone situation. It's analogous to your answer.
Oh wow, that Vendetta costs 0. Incredible.
All those cards cost 0. So now we've opened it up to options again. How does Thijs most decisively take tempo in this spot? Can you sap the Heist Baron here, actually?
Whoa, 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 whoa.
That puts 10 cards in your opponent's hand.
Steady on, my boy.
And then they have a 6-cost card in their hand that they have to create a circumstance for while you're taking a lead.
Sure.
Choose soon.
I think it's just better to get more stuff.
Yeah. I just, like, you have so much efficiency with the Shark doubling up all your cards right now that I think Sap is just one of the least efficient cards in your hand currently. All right. Sure. Plays around Rush Lackey options. Taking down the 4/5.
Get the hand size down so that you can use Wondrous Wand. Step 1.
That'll do it.
Step 2, draw some mighty powerful cards so that you can absolutely destroy your opponent and make my sap suggestion look absolutely ridiculous because I forgot about Edwin Van Cleef. That is enormous.
Choose soon.
Can he get the Sea Giant down as well? Oh my gosh.
That's what I've just, that's what I've just been sat in silence, like trying to work out the Sea Giant Edwin turn. The Sea Giant gets live as soon as he plays this Faceless Lackey. Yeah.
He gets to kill the gate as well.
The Brotherhood shall obey.
18-18, natural, no Shark. Hold it. And then, you know, Sap, but we won't talk about that.
Well, he's got a lot of other work to do still.
Yeah. He goes Tog into Treasure here. He's going to need to find specifically 0 mana answers because he won't have the mana remaining to play Sap afterwards.
Well, if you take 2 wands, he's got 15 cards left in deck. I'm just looking at killing with Leroy. I mean, Feno's down to 16 right now.
Sure. That's fair. Suspend this turn.
Yeah. See,
Living.
I'm curious about the Novice versus the Ethereal, too. I actually don't know which is better. Like, you just don't have the mana to spend on this stuff. The Eviscerate's looking very appealing right now.
Yep.
The backstab's looking appealing to just, you know, try to play around and out. So the question becomes, how much damage can my opponent deal with the board they have? Can they lethal me with that?
Choose soon.
Fino just watching through his fingers. It's all right, Fino. The sap is already there, okay? It's already there. It's fine. Just calm down. Everything is normal. You are already generically unlucky. There it is. Okay.
Generically unlucky. Yeah, I like upgrading the Shark on this turn, too. It's done its job. Don't leave it as a 0/3. Turn it into a 6-cost minion.
Yep. Yeah, the first time
I want the Tiger back!
The first time I found out that worked, like as you would want it to, with the upgrade still going off twice, that like definitely changed the way that I played a lot of these.
24 damage for Fino. Is that right? 8, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So if he got lucky and returned the Leroy Jenkins, he could win the game?
Exactsies, yeah. He has one over, yeah.
So can you trade in 2 of your one attack?
Trade in a 1/1 and get a 1 in 3 chance for lethal. 8, 12, 18, 19, 25 with the Leroy plus 1 from the Rush Lackey. Yep, that would be exact.
I think that's the direction he's likely to have to go. I mean, you know Thijs has 2 under his wands.
Yeah.
Choose soon.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
Does he see a different world where he
Going
lives?
fishing. Good play for board.
This guy's toast.
It's honestly a pretty efficient play for board.
As he gets the Edwin down as well.
Yep. Yeah, I like this way of going about it, honestly. Just say to Thijs, all right, you have 1 turn. Go ahead, do your worst. 1 copy of Sap in the deck, already been used. 0 mana Leroy.
Uh-oh. That's 10 damage.
Yep.
Looking for a fireball. Grim Rally. That can add some, that's 2 more damage.
Yep.
How much is this worth to you?
Now walk the plank as well. I mean, can he just answer the board back? Oh my.
I think so.
See, that's another question I have too, though, is like you played for this board this big way. Could Thijs just answer back? Like,
Or if he spends 3 more on the Wondrous Wand here.
oh,
Waggle pick. Which alongside that Leroy now, that's 10, 13 from Sinister
that's
Strike.
16 damage because of the Grim Rally. Wow. Wow.
Thijs
Game
finds
1.
it. I'm curious as to what that underbelly fence was doing in play for the turn. Like, why? I think there was a point where he diverted to board and then re-diverted back to trying to find lethal.
So just get the card out of hand. You're like, I know I'm going to play this. Just gonna put
Yeah,
it in play.
okay.
Like,
It costs 0, I guess. Just throw it out there,
Yeah.
make hand space for the wand.
to
Makes
me,
sense.
To me, it was just fishing for damage. Like, using the Hedge Clan Burglar first before he did anything else. He's like, I have this random outcome. I need to play it now so that way I have more information.
Yeah.
We've seen so many players throughout the season struggle with random situations like that. It's funny to me that Thijs has not been one of those people, like, at all. I feel like he's played his random outcome turns pretty decisively and had a generic game plan in mind where he's ready to flex both ways.
Well, I think what was key for Thijs that turn is that he took an action immediately. His turn started, he did something.
Yeah.
He stopped to think, he did something else. We've seen so many players wait, the rope appears, and then suddenly you still have 6 decision points to make in the remainder of your turn based on random information. Thijs went immediately, and so he left himself kind of incremental points where he could stop and think about how to best end the game, and then he found that out with the waggle pick.
Indeed. Indeed. Random outcome turns are hard to play. Like, you're not going to play them perfectly. You just need to play them in a direction.
Yeah.
And that direction changes each piece that comes in. And so that, to me, is the importance of what you just described. Make the decision, then stop and think for a bit. Super cool. All right, so Thijs up a game in this one. Fino is locked in this division for the #1 spot so far. So we got to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be getting into game at #2 of this set. Doesn't look like anything crazy's happened out of the secondary and tertiary decks. So I think we're on board for another Pilfer Rogue game. Stay tuned.
My name is Paul Nemeth, aka Zalay, and you can find me on Twitter @ZalayHS, and more importantly, my stream, twitch.tv/ZalayHS. Tune in, twitch.tv/ZalayHS. A day in my life, I wake up when I feel like it, then I go to the gym when I feel like it. After that, I stream when I feel like it, and then after that, I try and do something productive, and it doesn't always work. My personal goals for this year, I prefer to make short-term goals. So I try to live each day as best I can and make good decisions in the moment. And I don't focus too much on long-term goals because that can be complicated. And I think it's good to keep things simple and focus on what's important in the here and now. You know, it would be pretty cool if I could be first place in the Grandmasters system, but to be completely honest, I don't expect that. Just saying's a little bigger than me. Yeah, second place. That seems like a realistic goal. I could probably finish second place in the Grandmasters program. And I feel like second place it's a nice, comfortable spot for me. I'm into second place.
My name is Lucas Guerra Romano. When I was like 11 or 12, I don't know if I saw like the word raise, like people using poker, raise your bet or something. And oh, this word is kind of nice, and then I cut the letter I, and then I use it just raise. That's how I created my nick, and I'm using it since I was like 11 years old or something. So last year was pretty huge for me. I have had a lot of great achievements, finished like top 18 points on NA. Being here, being a Grandmaster, like people will recognize me as a Grandmaster, and that's pretty cool. I'm always looking for a win, but being here together with the best players in the world, I will try to push myself a lot. It's pretty easy to win a game that you are favored, that you drew well, but you need to win bad matchups, games that you have a small percentage to win. Like, you need to evaluate when you need to risk something or when you just need to play pretty safe. This is what I try to do, and I think I do well sometimes. I'm here to win. I will try my best for it.
It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for the European region, and we are amidst our 7th week of the regular season, which means playoffs are happening next week. You just saw Zalay and Raze there. Big playoff implications for Raze in his match. He faces off against Zalay in the 3rd match of the day in Americas later on. But for now, we're amidst our match. That's Admirable, and I'm joined by Sottle. And we're getting into game 2 of Thijs versus Feno, where Thijs is up a game.
He is indeed. And for Feno, worth mentioning, as you mentioned just before we went to the break, he is locked in for that #1 spot in the division, which is a huge deal because it means essentially when we get to the playoff finals, he progresses an entire stage through in the bracket. He is waiting for the winner of the other 2 players that will go into his bracket. So that's a huge victory for him already. It's why we heard, for example, Orange in his interview yesterday saying that he wasn't looking down, which was the question we asked him. He was looking up. He was trying to secure that #1 place. But for Thijs, it really is just purely about pride at this point. You know, fantastic player, one of the longest and most storied legacies in Hearthstone competitive play, and he finds himself at a 3-10 record in Hearthstone Grandmasters against, you know, the best of 2018 and 2019. And he doesn't want it to feel like the competitive Hearthstone has passed him by. He still considers himself to be up there, and this time he has it. Pilfer into 3-4.
This is as close you're going to get to Totem Golem unless you're playing Wild. In which case, you will get close to Totem Golem very often.
You get up close and personal with that Totem Golem.
It hugs you a lot. And totems don't understand that people have soft skin.
No. Totems do not respect personal space. They just get all up in there, crowd up the board.
That's what it sounds like. It says ruh.
Is that your Totem Golem impression?
Well, it's... Do you have a better one?
No.
Would you like to attempt?
No.
How much would I have to pay you to attempt it?
Could negotiate off camera.
Feno going with the Evil Miscreant here. I think that Edwin has a consideration to it, but I think with the way his hand's panning out, I think step 1 is like find a way to answer the board getting out of control. And then step number 2 is going to be where else can I get this Edwin even larger? Because that's something I've noticed a lot about Feno is he has consistently looked for opportunities to get huge Edwin turns at the right time. Timing has been a very important facet of his Edwins, and I recall him expressing that in an interview when Gallon was here casting with me. Gallon was very in favor of plopping the Edwin. He was very upset that Fino did not. And then Fino explained his thinking entirely. I want the big minion versus the big thing they're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Not particularly useful in the immediacy.
It's not a 2-1. I like that.
Yeah. Sacrificing some health total just to make sure that this 3-2 can't pick up valuable trades on the board.
I feel like some is an understatement almost. Taking 3 hurts.
3 is definitely some.
But then it hits you again. It's like you took 6. It just feels that way.
So many options.
I wonder if this is like ever a preemptive set the waggle pick kind of turn. Like you use the poke for 1 on the lackey, you hit face for 3, you backstab the Khadgar, and
Oh,
you
interesting. Yeah.
set the waggle pick.
I wonder.
No weapon destruction to worry about, of course, so Thijs does have complete freedom of how he chooses to use that waggle pick.
Because the rest of these cards just are not looking very good right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have a high tempo turn available, so it might have to be a, a low tempo turn with a lot of upside later on. That's exactly what he is going for. The play that Admirable alluded to.
The game's easy when all your turns are weak. Like, and you just don't have possibilities of other things.
I guess that's true.
And that is kind of a nightmare for Fino, where he's going to have to go away from some of his strongest 4-cost turns. He really did not want to use the Lackey here because he wanted the Lackey to combo with the Edwin on a big turn.
Yeah.
Can't combo anything else with SI7 agent.
Yeah, last Lackey in hand for now as well, which means having it there is upside if Togwaggle appears as well. It's always something that you have in the back of your mind. It's not a huge influence on your plays. I think often if the turn is just good for tempo, you will take it, but it's definitely something that you plan for.
So many options.
But the Edwin kicker is for sure the big one. Because the rest of his hand is pretty clunky to be paired with an Edwin Van Cleef.
Choose soon.
You're going to see 4-4.
I think it's better than the 3-3.
The Brotherhood
That
shall
is
come.
objectively true.
Just peels damage away from face. Like, that to me is I think, a big interest. Whoa.
Oof.
But Thijs he's still missing important development here, like Novice Engineer to try to fetch a minion. Wow! Ignore what I just said. Instead, it's the best turn I think he could have had. That's insane. I'm not even convinced you need to use the Vendetta here. Like, I want to save the Vendetta to crack with, on a turn with the Waggle pick. So when Fino goes for bigger turns, you have bigger answers. So in this instance, he was interested in both saving 4 health and turning that Vendetta into 4 face damage with the Waggle pick.
Yeah, that Vendetta represents an 8 damage swing in the game state. Fino takes 4 to face that he wouldn't have otherwise. Thijs does not take 4 to face that he would have otherwise.
I guess that's the question then. How important is that health swing overall? It's typically pretty important.
Yep. Rogue does not do well with defense. If you can push them into range of Leroy Jenkins, they most likely stay there. And Thijs is about to get draw 3 very soon in his future, which can set him up for big burst finishes. So I like
swing
respecting
something?
the damage race.
Lackey swing something here. Figure it out afterwards. I think some of the thoughts for Thijs are preloading the High Sparin and get it back for 4 mana. I think it cedes too much tempo over.
Yep, agreed.
From nothing.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to whether the pick is getting swung this turn or not. a lot of it would have hinged on the outcomes from this Ethereal Lackey.
I think there's a lot of merit to it, actually, because something I'm looking at is you'll have a 0-cost Lackey in hand, and so your turn 7 can be the Lackey, then the Heist Baron, and then give it Rush.
So many options.
Okay.
And I think that's the turn he's looking for, actually.
All right, I can see that.
What outcomes change that? Just add the dagger up in. So he wanted to deny the Lackey specifically for opposing Heist Baron Togwaggle. Makes sense.
Yep.
Clunky.
Really awkward, honestly. Very, very awkward. Which card has got you weirdly excited today, Admirable?
Well, all those options have things that make a lot of sense. So like the Rain of Toads is development, and that's typically what Fino's always going to favor is any card that gets development. Twisting Nether can answer colossal board states that Thijs can make. And Curse Weakness can act as like a bootleg Frost Nova, where you take the board, your opponent reacts in a strong way, and then you curse a weakness and just attack them in the face. Like, it actually has that weird dynamic to it.
I was awaiting with bated breath how you were going to justify either of those cards that weren't Rain of Toads. And I remain unconvinced. I think that was a very clear Rain of Toads to me.
Well, that's why I said the Rain of Toads first. It's development. You favor development.
You just read left to right. That's what you did.
Well, no. You know I always hit the one in the middle first.
That's true, actually.
Rocky taught me that.
That is true. You do.
Dan has video evidence of the fact that I always hit the one in the middle. Always.
Whoa.
I'm pretty interested by that because the 7-1 represents checked by an attack, and an SI7 agent's gone. So that just could have been 7 damage. Or it could be another treasure.
Well, there's no lackeys in hand.
For Fino?
Hmm?
Oh, you mean for you?
For Thijs.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
You are going to draw 3 cards, and they are going to cost 0.
You've played 1 Miscreant, 1 Cable Route already, I think?
To the same effect of the Togwaggle dying, you would expect that your lackeys don't die in this?
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable assumption, but not a guaranteed one. I think it's a lot of potential damage to give up for sometimes.
It is indeed not guaranteed, because they are both dying now.
Yes. And you also, like, you've made it quite clear to your opponent because they know how many lackeys you have in your hand. They know it's 0. They know that you have left 2 lackeys on the board, so you have made it quite clear what your opponent's objective is, and that is kill your lackeys. Ah, never mind.
Well, we start with the wand.
No, I know, but still, never mind.
Wait a minute, 2 of these cards are supposed to cost 0 anyway. That's a bad Wander's Wand. What's that Wondrous Wand think it's doing?
So many options.
I'm upset.
I can tell. I think we need to qualify the word bad in this situation, though. 3 mana, draw 3. One of them is a 0 mana Ziliax.
I did follow it up with Wondrous Wand, so
Yeah.
you know that there's still a good thing that's happening.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Wow, this turn was very anticlimactic.
Was. Ooh. Snip sap.
Sip sap or snip sap? That's harder to say than it seems like it could be.
I had to like steady myself before it came out just to make sure I got it right.
Oh, you know what else makes a lot of sense with the Rain of Toads? I just realized. Rain of Toads Sea Giant.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually a thing you could do.
Yep.
I mean, not here, but you get the idea.
But sometimes.
Yeah.
So many options.
So Fino now knows that there is a lackey back in hand. for Thijs, he knows that there is a Heist Baron in hand. He knows there are 2 cards that cost 0 in hand, and he knows that there are 2 randomly generated cards in hand from the Pilfers early on. So there are actually only 2 cards in this hand that Fino does not have, you know, decent levels of information on.
I feel lost on identifying what my goal is this turn.
As Fino?
Yeah. Like, I want to kill stuff and I want to make board. I can't really do any of those things, so I'm going to make board.
Oh, interesting. How much does a frog cost? I'm not actually sure.
3.
3. Okay. Makes sense. 3 mana, 2/4 taunt. Sure.
You could tell I knew the 3 because I said it after the effect happened and
Yes.
saw
Yeah.
the outcome afterwards.
Yeah.
Thijs' goals look much easier.
So many options.
Get the Tog.
Our second Imp Master of the week.
That Imp Master has some implications to it, though.
It does. I think Sea Giant came into play the last time we saw it yesterday as well, just from memory. I might be wrong. I seem to remember that being the case.
I do as well, actually.
Underbelly Fence is a pretty huge pickup. He had to evolve first there, kind of at the start of his turn. Again, it's kind of the thing I was soapboxing about beforehand, where there was a lot of breakpoints and decisions this turn, so he chose to make them very, very quickly. But because of that, he started his turn without killing one of these 2/4s, which seems reasonable given that he has Vendetta. But picking up the Underbelly Fence there is key for allowing him to push through even more.
Fino overloaded as well. Yikes. Just kind of got, I think. Just lots of Wondrous Wand, drawing cards and doing things. Just took a lot of damage early, too. Like, the Underbelly Fence just dealt him so much damage early.
Yeah. Fino daggered up, smacked it just to try and make sure it couldn't take a trade. You were very scared of that damage, and it did add up quite quickly. Nothing to be doing, though. When your opponent plays a 3/4 on turn 2, you're going to take some damage. It's kind of truth self-evident when it comes to Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I wonder. Let's choose soon.
So Fino's trading like that, then where is this back? He's going to backstab into the 3/4. Okay, it's the same. No, wait. If you backstab the Ziliax and then double trade that same way into the 3/4, it's the same thing, but your opponent doesn't heal, right?
Yes.
Isn't this just wrong?
I think that it being wrong is a sign of where Fino feels he's at this.
Sure.
He is losing extremely decisively. He hasn't lost yet, though.
Nope. He has an 8/8 in play, which means your opponent's health total is actually quite relevant.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Thijs' hand when I say that. Like, I actually... I got caster visioned in this one because I keep staring at the sap and the vaporize, and I'm like...
Yeah.
Fino just... He has to win the card advantage battle, which feels extremely
Well, that's not
difficult.
happening.
Yeah, like, your opponent's played 2 Wondrous Wands that you typically don't win those card advantage battles. By the way, let's heal our whole board up after we trade.
Yikes, how nasty are these trades with Divine Hymn?
Like, that is actually quite disgusting. I think Fino's expression right now, just kind of resting his head on his hand that way for, you know, the entirety of the game, is about where he feels still. I think he has come to terms with it.
No Divine Hymn?
I would call myself surprised.
Just a whole extra minion in play for that Sea Giant that you've sapped as well. But I guess from Thijs' perspective, there's no real play that involves that Sea Giant coming down that scares him. But there's a lot of random stuff that can go on in Rogue. Like, actually, Henge Clan Burglar, Sea Giant Frost Nova was a possible play that turn.
Turned into mage.
Yeah.
I wonder.
So dagger versus minion in terms of which mana implications. Whoa.
Too soon.
Okay. I was getting really nervous for a second there. I'm going to hope that was just a visualization exercise there.
Yeah. Also, you have to question the target of the Power Word Shield as well, being that trade was most likely going to happen, right?
Yeah.
With the 3-5 into the 5-3. But these are minor things that
Either way.
picking Fino up on, but Spirit of the Shark, Life Drinker combo gets it wrapped up for 6. It might be that Thijs had that mapped out in advance, which is why he went with the Life Drinker over the Divine Spirit on the previous turn. But Thijs gets a much-needed victory to bring a bit of respectability back to his scoreline. For Fino, not a big deal. He will be happy that one of his more brutal series came at the point where he had already done his job. He is already locked up top of that group. Job done, season done. He can take that one on the chin. It was a pretty savage series. He just had to sit there and take a beating, but he's done his work up to this point.
Yeah, I'd say that's one of the prime times for it to come. But for Thijs, brought Pilfer Rogue this week.
Yeah.
And got a 50-50 with it.
All right.
I'm excited about this. This is the first thing I thought as soon as I read that Pilfer change was I was like, underbelly fans.
Yeah. I think the notable is that his deck is, I think, quite clearly built to take a look at rogues, right? He's taking the Blink Foxes out, he's putting the Pilfer and Underbelly in, and then the one matchup where he got the rogue, it looked pretty decisive against that rogues.
Indeed. And Thijs is ready for an interview. Thijs, can you hear us? Microphone muted, perhaps?
Nope, still can't hear you.
Nope.
Now, better?
There we go.
It's almost like you're a professional streamer, Thijs.
Well, I just muted it and unmuted it, and somehow it worked, so I was lucky.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? Thijs, this was a fun win for you this week. You landed on Pilfer Rogue. Talk to me about this one. You brought the Chef Nomi Priest, then you brought Pilfer Rogue. Can you go into detail on those decks and why you wanted to bring them?
Well, the Pilfer Rogue was here mainly, I think it is like a little bit better than Blink Fox in the mirror. It's still not that much better, but it's better because you can play the Undervalley Fenchon too, what is pretty good. The Nomi Priest was last week. I played against Board Control and Silvername. They were both out of the tournament as I was, so I was like, I want to do something different than the decks that were getting played. And well, Silvername submitted 4 weeks the same exact route list. I was like, now he's out of the tournament, he's not going to change. But yeah, then he submitted Bomb Warrior, so that didn't really go well, but I gave it a try.
So I want to talk to you about your season as a whole, because obviously I know you're a very proud, competitive player. This season probably hasn't gone as you would have wanted. Like, what's been your motivation coming into these last couple of games where, as you said, you were already mathematically eliminated?
Yeah, well, I cannot motivate myself as much as I could do for the first matches. That's just like, but out of competition and out of fairness, you still want to like perform as well as you can. Like last week, there might have not been anything on the line anymore against the opponents that were out, but for Fino, there was still like a lot on the line, and so was like in my earlier match. So I think then I still, even though it's hard to maybe prepare yourself as much, I still want to do my best in fairness of competition. But yeah, it has been a tough season, and I just hope that I can take this this win a little bit as like confident that I'm like, I know I can do well. I think some things also didn't go my way, and matches have been hard, but I know I can do it, and I just hope this is a good start for me for season 2.
Well, I know you can do it too. I want the 2-time back-to-back to come in and show these new kids what the old players are about. That's what I want.
I will. Come on, say it.
All right, well, Thijs, I'm happy to see you get a win in this one, and with a pretty cool deck, I think at that. It's been a rough season for you, but you know what? There's no relegation on this one. Season 2 is what I'm looking forward to. Congratulations on your win, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
He's just such a nice guy.
He really is.
It's impossible to dislike Thijs.
One of the things I liked is after my first interview with Fino, where we kind of really got out of the side of the box, and I was like talking to him like I'm like the stern proctor at, I don't know, some school or something. I was like, you answer for what you've done right now. Thijs messages me and he goes, hey, that interview with Fino was fun. So if you interview me, please just do whatever you want and go outside the box, because that's a lot of fun and I want to do that. And I was like, this is almost the opposite of how I knew Thijs 2 years ago, where it was like he wanted to talk strictly about strategy and things like that. And I feel like he's just opened up as a person and seen success amidst doing that, and just everything has kind of come to fruition, where he's at this nice point where he's just a great personality. I think he's a good competitor, and I don't think this season is reflective of what he's going to be doing in season 2.
Yeah, completely agree with you. But as we mentioned, Thijs well and truly out of it, but we can take a look at the standings to see what is important with the players still chucking away at the top. You see there, Thijs now 4 and 10, Fino 10 and 4, still inverse records. Thijs still bottom, Fino still locked and loaded at the top, but Division A spots to keep an eye on over the next day or two. Calento, Bunny Hopper, Viper still fighting out a potential 3-way tie situation when it comes down to it.
Well, something I'm looking forward to also is just how Division B is stacking up and where it's headed, because that's where our next match is taking place.